Hello there folks, and welcome back to another speed paint video. Very frequently on the channel, I'm drawing something either Pokemon related or fantastical creature related, and I thought I would combine these things into one thing today. So I love doing dragons based on different things, like plants or foods or bugs or things like that. And I also like going into the Pokemon franchise, obviously. I love drawing the Pokemon themselves, but there's a lot of really cool things about the Pokemon series itself that I also find really interesting. Like the things in the world building, like the Pokeballs, which I think are very fascinating, the Apricorn, or one of the coolest things that barely anybody ever talks about, the berries. Also called fruit in the Japanese versions. The berries are essentially just like this cool thing that exists in the Pokemon franchise that I think a lot of people who only know about Pokemon on a surface level know about, but it's actually a pretty cool little thing. Basically, the berries grow on these little trees that you can grow in-game. They originally were just very straightforwardly named things in Gen 1 and 2, like the Paralyzed Cure Berry or just Berry sometimes. They did not have very interesting names back in the day. But upon Gen 3, with the introduction of Pokemon contests and various stats and things like that, well, berries got a lot more complicated. They had different sprites, they had different flavors, they actually had depth and world building going into them. Heck, they even made an appearance in the anime like several times at this point, with all the different foods that they make for each generation, and just in general whenever someone owns a farm or something. I just think the berries in Pokemon are very fascinating. I've always enjoyed the sprites for them ever since I was a kid. I was also very fascinated by the trees that they all grow on. I just thought these weird, alien-looking plants were very fascinating. And I thought that it could be cool inspiration for various dragon designs. So, without further ado, let's make some dragons based on Pokemon's berries. First up is what I would argue is the most classic of the Pokemon berries, and it is the Oran berry. This thing has a fairly neutral flavor as far as Pokemon berries go. It's very common, it's very cheap to buy in the games, and it has a very simple effect. It just restores 10 HP, super standard. It's literally based on the just plain berry from Generation 2, so you can imagine it's a very basic berry. Something about the Oran berry that I only realized or learned about as an adult was that the Oran berry is supposed to be based on an orange. Most of the Pokemon berries are based on real-life fruits. Even though the real-life fruits and vegetables do exist in the Pokemon world, the berries are also like these weird alternate versions of them. Anyway, the Oran berry is an orange. That's where the name Oran comes from. But you would never guess that it's an orange because it's literally blue. But once you look at it, you realize it's just a blue-orange fruit. And it's just very confusing, especially in English, because our word for the color orange literally is the name of the fruit. And this fruit is not that color. So it's very confusing, very funny to think about. I don't know. I just went my entire childhood without ever noticing that that's what the connection was. Like, I just straight up did not come to that conclusion at all. I was just like, this is a blueberry, which overlaps with the Belluberry also, so who cares, right? Whatever. There's just two blueberries. No, this is an orange. It's just a really weird orange, and it makes sense because in the anime, they open it up and it literally has slices like an orange. So, yeah, that's where I took some of the inspirations for this design. It's got this big frill that looks like the various, like, orange slices that are within the Oran berry itself. It's got that classic blue color that the Oran berry has. And it's also got some elements taken from the berry plants. I thought to make my designs a little bit more different, it would be cool to incorporate elements of the berry trees themselves from Pokemon. And also just because I think they're very interesting and I wanted to show them off and talk about them a little bit. The Oran berry tree is actually like this kind of pale orange color in the early generations. Unfortunately, after like Gen 6 and later, the berry trees are fairly samey looking, like they all have green leaves, which fair, plants usually do have those. That's like very fair that they make them look like that. It's probably way easier than modeling like dozens of tree types and then like making different color textures and stuff. Like I understand why they simplified trees later on. But man, I love these old weird tree models and their weird alien colors. I think that's part of why as a kid I found the berries so fascinating. Like, I liked the mini games they were associated with, right? Like the Pokéblock mixing and like Poffin baking and all that. But the berries themselves were just really interesting to me because of that real-time aspect. They had such weird trees. The berries themselves had really cute sprites that were just lovely little pieces of pixel art. I don't know, they're just very weird. And the Oran berry tree is that classic weird orange color. truly, this plant is just so strange. Like, it's the basic berry of Pokemon, and yet it's still really weird. It's like only green as like a little sapling, and then it just becomes orange and has these blue fruits on it. It is super weird. So that's what the wings on this dragon are based on. They're based on the Oran berry tree, which, now that I think about it, is definitely like shaped like a coniferous tree, like a pine or a fir or something like that. Which is not the kind of tree that an orange is from either, so even more weirdness when it comes to this berry. And by the way, the horns on this little guy are based on the little green nubbin that's found at the very top of an Oran berry. I thought it'd be fun to give him like silly little like stumpy fat horns that resemble that little bit where the stem would be on the fruit. In some of the early art, it's like just light blue, which further reinforces like the thing that made me think it was just a blueberry when I was a kid and not like necessarily inspired by an orange. Anyway, this guy's very basic. I tried to give it like a very like homey, chunky dog aesthetic. Like I kind of wanted it to look like a boxer, like a similar kind of hound dog of some sort. Because I think of the Oranberry as being like very friendly, accessible, and basic, so I thought of like this creature that would be very like something familiar to people because it's like a dog. I don't know, there's a lot going on in my mind. The Oranberry is just deceptively interesting for being the basic berry from Pokemon. And I don't know, I just think it's kind of neat, and it was fun making a dragon design based on it. Next up is another berry from Gen 3, which, I mean, most of these are from Gen 3. But this is one that is not very basic, but still just as interesting. It is the Liechi berry. Back in Gen 3, the Liechi berry was comically difficult to get. If you've ever seen anything online on the Pokemon community about the Mirage Island, yeah, that's where that thing's from. It was the only way you could get it. It had like this featured couple of episodes in the anime when they get stranded on Mirage Island. There's the Liechi berries there. They honestly look really good. Knowing me and all my food allergies, though, I probably would be allergic to these guys, but it does look like a very scrumptious fruit. I guess the fact that it looks like it has like these pre-cut slices reminds me of a citrus fruit a lot, so I guess that's why I'm looking at it. Although the Liechi berry is of course probably just based on a lychee and not a citrus fruit, but you know, a guy can dream, right? A very fascinating berry. It's super rare, it's super weird. The plant is also just like really funny because it just looks like two really long vines. Honestly, it kind of reminds me a little bit of a snake plant now that I'm looking at it, but I don't think snake plants have fruit, so it's pretty different. It's pretty weird. It's a very strange tropical plant. It has this like comically long like period of time it takes to grow. It is really hard to get in a lot of the earlier games. Like, it is a very fascinating berry. And I don't even think it has like a particularly special effect. Like, I think it literally just increases attack at a pinch. Like, that's it. That's really all it does. It's like such a basic effect. I feel like its flavor isn't even that crazy in the Pokemon like food-based minigames, right? Like, its flavor profile isn't that intense. It's just a really weird, extremely rare, on the early days anyway, type of berry that is just very interesting to me. The Liechi's just super odd. Like, I think you look at it and it's kind of complicated for a berry design. Like, it's got a lot of little details in it. But it's very deceptive. Like, you look at it and you would never guess that, like, it's a comically difficult thing to acquire in the games. It is so cool. It is very fun. I love that, like, in some of the descriptions for these berries, there is, like, just truly insane oral farming, basically, descriptions for these things. Like, the Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum description of it says that it's rumored to be imbued with the power of the sea and that it's surrounded by mystery. Like, that's so intense. This is just a fruit. It's not even, like, a particularly powerful fruit. It's just a fruit. So it's just really funny. Liechi berries are pretty neat. So they're kind of like the opposite of the Oran berry. Like, even though they have very similar depth and are interesting to me in those ways, like, the Oran berry is the most accessible berry, and the Liechi berry used to be, like, the least accessible berry, so they're kind of opposites in that way. This dragon design is very much based on, like, the long, slender version of the plant, and it has a lot of, like, these little red accents to represent the little red bits that are on the Liechi berry. It's got all, like, the sections and stuff that resemble the kind of slices I was seeing in the shape of the berry itself. It kind of has a mustache a little bit to go with its mouth, to go with, like, the accents that are on the red bottom of the berry. Overall, just really strongly taking inspiration from the plant, especially when you look at the tail. This is just how I imagine the plant would look if you got up close to it with the berries right at the bottom. That's probably how you would see it. So yeah, I had a lot to say about the berry, not a lot about the dragon in this particular one, but I still had a lot of fun with it. This is such an interesting berry in the history of like Pokemon mechanics and stuff that was weirdly complicated and rare back in the day. And yeah, it's just an interesting time capsule into what old Pokemon was like. Next up is the Haban berry, and this is part of a series of 18 different types of berries that are meant to counteract a specific type. So the Haban berry is a berry that will heal the Pokemon that holds it if they are hit by a super effective dragon attack, which means that it only really is for dragon Pokemon when they're fighting other dragon Pokemon. So I tried to like get a very chunky reptilian dragon-like vibe in here, really embracing like the color palette here and leaning into as many like, I don't know, old school dragon Pokemon vibes as I could in here. Like it's got a very stout and chunky build, similar to something like Dragonite or Charizard from Gen 1, or even like the stout build of Tyranitar from Gen 2. This thing is mainly just supposed to be like a chunky, fat dragon to help emulate the round shape of the Haban fairy fruit, and it also has that, of course, predominant red color as the fruit has, and it's also got the inside of its mouth being like this dark purple, like the inner part of the fruit as well. And I just thought I would make this thing look smimey and like smirky and strong. Like, it's kind of a rare berry, it's a little hard to get. I mean, a lot of like the type deflecting type berries are, I feel like, a little bit more tricky to get compared to like the status effect ones or like the citrus and orange berries or something like that. But I just think they're pretty neat. I think this thing is pretty cool looking as far as the berries go. It's very interesting. It's probably also based on the strawberry guava, by the way, in case you're wondering what it is, because I was looking at it and was like, I'm not familiar with what the hell this fruit is, and so I had to look at Bulbapedia and learn a little bit more about it there. And of course, just like with the orange berry before, these wings are based on the plant that this thing comes from, so it's got more of a classic deciduous plant with these yellowy leaves, and then it has these like white flowers that look like they have like a little green pixel in the middle as like the middle of the flower. So I took inspiration there. I thought it was kind of interesting that it's like kind of complementary to the actual color of the fruit. Like it's got the green flower that turns into a red fruit. I just thought that was neat. I thought that was fascinating, so I kind of leaned into that there. It's a very weird little berry. I feel like all the type berries are like kind of interesting. I honestly had to kind of peel myself away from making all of these designs like the type-oriented berries because those did have a lot of possibilities by making them inspired by their correlating type. But I made myself be a little more restricted. I just went with the Haban berry, and I am very happy with how this guy came out. It looks very sassy, it looks very, like, stout and chunky. Like, it feels like it is cousins with, like, the Oran berry in a little way, because they're both, like, these chunky, more, like, land-based dragons. But this guy is, like, definitely, like, a little stronger and a little sassier. Like, less of a beginner-friendly sort of creature than the Oran berry dog-like dragon was. And I'm very happy with how this guy came out. Last up, we have one that is probably my favorite berry of the bunch, and it is the Enigma berry. And this is another really weird one that has an interesting history in Gen 3, so buckle in if you haven't heard of this thing already. The Enigma berry, as we know it today, is not terribly special. It's just something that increases, like, attack when you get hit by a super effective move of any type, so in a way it's kind of like a catch-all, similar to the Haban berry, but a lot less restrictive. But the Enigma berry has a way more interesting, like, history when it comes to Gen 3 because of the e-reader, which allowed old Game Boy Advance games to be able to basically download DLC with these e-reader cards. And you could do, like, battles and other fun stuff with them, but the most interesting thing with the e-reader to me was the berries. There were a few different berries that are exclusive to the e-reader that, like, straight up never came back. The closest that we got in terms of coming back was, like, the Chilan berry, and that's just because we got another berry with the same name that's based on the same fruit, but it is not that similar looking, in my opinion, to the original Chilan berry from Gen 3. Super weird. But basically, these weird exclusive berries were something that would get loaded into the game, and they were all loading into the same slot, so you couldn't have more than one at a time. And if you were to trade one of these weird berries to a game that didn't have an e-reader berry loaded in, it would become an Enigma berry, which was basically the placeholder. So, for its first debut generation, the Enigma Berry was actually more of just a weird, awkward placeholder that was just kind of there, not really intended to be used much. Like, I'm pretty sure it was banned from competition during its first generation because you really weren't supposed to be accessing it. But there it was in the code to make sure the game wouldn't break if you were playing with the e-reader stuff. And it's just very fascinating looking. I mean, it's got that striking black and white appearance that I think is so fascinating. Allegedly, it's based on a sunflower seed, which I have no idea how I didn't notice that sooner. That, like, is so obvious to me now that I'm looking at it, but I don't know. I think it's got, like, this very three-dimensional shape. Like, I never imagined it being flat like a sunflower seed, so that's probably why I never noticed that. It honestly looks a little bit more like a light bulb in terms of general shape to me, or like a balloon or something like that. I don't know, I just think this thing's very fascinating. It's now like a very normal berry that's a little bit unsuspecting other than the fact that it has the crazy name Enigma Berry and its design literally has like a question mark on it. It is a crazy looking berry. It is so cool looking. Its plant is like basically grayscale except for like this cream colored stem that it has. Like the trunk of the tree is very like cream pinkish colored, kind of like the Oran berry's leaves. But the rest of it is actually kind of grayscale looking, which I think is very interesting. I don't know if they were actually going for grayscale or if they were just kind of going for blue, or I literally have no idea how they picked out colors for the plants, for the berries, because it just feels random, but sometimes it doesn't, so I really don't know. I just know that they all do look pretty different, at least in the sprite era of the games. So they're probably at least supposed to be different from each other so you can tell which tree is which, but like, I don't know if there was any rationale in picking out which leaves matched which fruit. But I do think this grayscale thing matches with the black and white Enigma Berry very well. And because it's got all this question mark stuff going on, I really wanted to make like a very spinny, spirally sort of shaped dragon who really has a lot of these like swirling shapes incorporated into its silhouette, into its patterns, and into its design. It's got little accents on its body like the wings and the tips of its feet that make it look like it has like the gray, fluffy leaves of the plant. It's got these big, long, curling horns that are supposed to evoke the idea of a question mark. It's got a question mark shaped accent in its eye, and the tip of its tail has that little bulb that's at the end of the Enigma Berry fruit. So I think that it's really just super cute. Definitely probably my favorite of the berries. Like, it's hard to say. There's a lot of really cool looking ones. I really do like how colorful they are, so it does feel a little bit like a cop-out to say my favorite is the black and white one, but like, look at this thing. It's just so cool. I had a lot of fun designing this dragon, and it just leans into a lot of very self-indulgent things. I love a color palette that really just is a highlight, a dark color, and a mid-tone, like, all working together. So this was kind of self-indulgent for me, making this design, and I'm very happy with how this cutie came out. And with that, that's all that I've got for you guys today, so thank you all so much for watching! Let me know which one of these berry dragons was your favorite in the comments below, and let me know if you have any other suggestions for Pokemon berries you'd like to see me turn into a dragon in the future. Thank you, by the way, to my Ko-fi members for helping to make this video possible. My Ko-fi members help me live out my dream of being a full-time artist and make my life a little more stable by giving me a more reliable income. That way I don't have to rely on the YouTube algorithm for a little bit of extra income. I can just rely on you guys for supporting the channel, and it really means the world. If you'd like to join them, you can go check out my Ko-fi page in the link in the description. I'm looking to hit 100 monthly members before the end of 2026, and there's really only a few months left. So if you want to help me hit that goal, go check out my link in the description below. You can join for as little as just $1 a month, which might not sound like a lot, but it really does help a lot, especially if more than one of you sign up for that tier. And any amount, no matter how low, helps contribute to the goal of 100 monthly members, so consider checking it out. I've also got commissions open on my VGen page. I actually have a sale going on over there where all of my shop items, as well as most of my commission listings, are now on sale because I'm going to be moving soon, and I'd like to have a little bit of extra cash to work with for like getting a moving truck and all sorts of other stuff with all the expenses of moving. So if you'd like to help me out with this like life transition I've got going on, please consider checking out my VGen or sending a tip to my Ko-fi if you don't really want anything, but yeah, consider checking it out, because I'd really like some more commission examples on my VGen, and I could really use the extra pocket change while moving around. By the way, my next show that I'm going to be at is going to be New England FanCon in Trumbull, Connecticut, so if you happen to be in the area circa 2 weeks from now, and you want to come get some stickers, prints, or really anything else, that's the next show that I'm going to be at. Again, it's going to be in Trumbull, Connecticut. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff going on with this show. Like, I think the creator of Monster High is going to be there, which is freaking crazy. Like, really weird that I'm probably going to be in the same room as that guy at some point. Super weird. Very cool show. I'm very excited to go for the first time over there, so if you want to help support the channel, say hi, go check out the rest of the show, because there's a lot of other cool stuff at New England FanCon, consider meeting me there in Connecticut in just a couple weeks. And with that, that's all that I've got for you guys this week, so thank you all so much for watching. Next week, I should have my Art Fight recap video out. I'll probably start working on that literally the day after Art Fight ends, probably literally the afternoon that Art Fight ends, honestly. So I will see you guys with that video soon. There is a lot I want to talk about with it because I've had a very cool art fight this year, so I definitely want to share like the art that I've received and the art that I've made for other people, so you guys can look forward to that next week. In the meantime, why don't you guys go out there and make some art.